Welcome to Coffee with Clover. Thanks for joining me today. Men are always referred to as the stronger component, but are they? The men in our lives do have feelings, whether it's a brother, a son, a husband, uncle, or nephew. They do go through emotions of some sort. Please welcome founder of StartWithMe.ca, Mike Strupp. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for
Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Okay, so men go through different feelings and sometimes don't talk about it, they hold on to it, but sometimes you guys are vulnerable. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people have to go through a lot of pain and anguish before they realize that being vulnerable is the only way out of that. In my situation, that was the case. I was always aware that something was happening inside of me, but I didn't know how to talk about it or express it. And so, I had a past of drug addiction and a lot of mental health problems. So this suppression of all these emotions that I didn't know how to deal with caused me a lot of pain and anguish. And it wasn't until I was really at my worst that I asked for help, or at least acknowledged that I wasn't okay and that something really was wrong. And I fought to the bitter end to try to avoid doing that. And so I think part of this conversation is helping people get to that point of asking for help or acknowledging what's going on without necessarily being, at a bottom or being in a rough place.
Yeah, as you mentioned, helping people, and because of what you've gone through, it drove you to do what you do. So Start With Me.
Yeah.
It's an organization.
Yeah. Okay. It started as an expression of the lessons that I learned, and it was drilled into my head early that I was responsible for my behavior, and I was, if I did not change and do things differently, then my life was not going to change. And so that is a tough pill to swallow.
So that means for a moment you believed in that.
Yes.
So you determined to change.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did that by asking for help and by getting a ton of help, particularly from one individual who had been through similar things that I had. And he, was a gift from the universe, so to speak. And then I got a lot of professional help, psychiatric help, psychotherapy, mindfulness, anything I could get my hands on. And so all of that was built into the organization and all the stuff that I do now. And then I built professional skills and continued my education and did everything I possibly could to, one, not feel how I used to feel, and two, to help other people do the same.
How do you help other people not to feel the same?
Primarily by communicating honestly what happened to me. And so I think what is lacking in this more general conversation about these things is that whoever it is that is saying men need to do this, or people need to do this, or we need to be more honest, and etc., they're saying that without showing it. So I really love this saying, show, don't tell.
Not only show, don't tell. Some people are saying that, like they'll say, man up.
Right.
Be a man, be tough, but not knowing what's going on within.
Yes.
What that's causing you to hold back.
Yeah.
But in letting out, you're becoming vulnerable. How hard is it?
I think in the beginning, it's difficult. But what has happened for me, and I see it happen with lots of people, is once you sense or feel how amazing it is to be vulnerable and to be honest, it just feels so good, to be honest.
It's like you're letting out finally, and it's like, whoa, this feels so good.
Yeah, and that's a great way to put it. So prior to never saying anything, the pressure builds and builds until people explode or whatever. So when you get accustomed to being honest and being vulnerable, as the balloon inflates, your ability to deflate it more quickly, So it's like the emotions build. Oh my God, if I don't say something about this and ask for help or talk to a friend, then that balloon doesn't shrink. But so you get more practice at least acknowledging it. And over the years, through acknowledging it and talking to other people, I've been able to sort of self soothe, you know? We always say to kids, you know, you got to learn how to regulate your emotions or self-soothe, but you know, adults aren't really any good at it either. We're just bigger and
Children will just let it out, but for a grown man, it's hard.
It is hard, yes.
And it takes a lot of thought into when do I become vulnerable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was it for you? Like, you gone through situations and you thought of, okay, I need to speak out.
Yes.
So you put a lot of thought into that process. How was it the first time you say, okay, now is the time, boom?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one to answer. I think today it's almost as if I don't have a choice. I can't hold it in because then I start to feel sick, like emotionally or spiritually unwell.
It's a part of being honest with yourself too, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely,
So
which is the biggest gift. And I think a lot of people in my situation, particularly with drug addiction, shame, guilt, remorse. So we hate ourselves, we hate our actions, and then we beat ourselves up about those two things.
Is it because, okay, you've gone to drug addiction because you had situations that you couldn't cope with, so therefore you found a solution and you anchored in there.
Yes.
How so you're ashamed of it?
Well, because you know it's not good.
The right thing.
Yeah, and then it's horrible. I mean, it gets really bad when you know it's not good and you want to stop, but you can't.
Can't stop.
And that's where the self-hatred and the self-shaming, it just gets really, really yucky.
So then you beat up on yourself for letting go.
Well, you beat up on yourself for not meeting an expectation that you think you should be able to meet. And even if you meet it, then you're not good enough. Or then, I mean, it's just constant, you know. And so when we learn to be honest, then we learn to reflect what's happening. And then, like as we said, that balloon deflates and then we can have some relief.
That's very important. We're taking a quick break. More coming up. Don't go away. Welcome back. Our focus is on men and how they can become vulnerable. Joining the conversation is CEO of Home. Please help me welcome Donovan McKenzie. Donovan, thanks for coming on to join our conversation.
It's a pleasure.
So you are the CEO of Home. Can you tell our viewers what does Home stand for?
Well, home is not a house. Home means heart of a man. So we started Home to revolutionize manhood and let men know that mental health is health and allowing them to see the power in vulnerability. So we're helping men to feel confident, hopeful, and optimistic about their future. And developing healthy relationships and being better communicators. So that's Heart of a Man.
Okay. What drove you to start Heart of a Man? Did you have situations that often had you on the vulnerable side?
Absolutely. You see, I grew up in my neighborhood, my family, where I had to be the tough guy, the strong guy. Vulnerability was seen as a sign of weakness. And I was thinking, okay, if vulnerability is weakness, I got to come off extra strong. I can't bring it that tough. I can't bring it that soft. I can't cry. Vulnerability is weakness. Well, I was wrong. Vulnerability and positive vulnerability is a sign of strength. That's what I've learned in my life. And now we want to spread that message to men that have been told they have to be strong, man up.
So it's okay to shed your tears.
Absolutely.
And let others see?
It's okay to shed your tears. It's a beautiful thing. When you can cry in front of someone, and I've realized that understands vulnerability, you'll feel so strong when you shed those tears. You release a lot of pain.
That's from a man's perspective. My son is 12, and there are situations where he would cry, and I would say, be a man. So he'd start writing notes. If something's wrong, instead of crying, you'd write notes and leave it in areas where I can find it. So it's like, okay, you got it. Don't shed your tears. So I think I came off wrong in beating up on him, saying, be a man, even though he's just a boy, right?
Yes, yes.
But from a man's perspective, it takes a lot for you to get to that point, is it?
It does take a lot. But if you're told when you're young, be a man, you're going to take that with you when in your 20s, your 30s. And I got told to be a man myself. So he can learn that but he could unlearn it by listening to the power of positive vulnerability. Share your feelings. Be a man and share your feelings.
How do you share with other men to get to the point where they are supposed to be so they can just let it out?
Well, they have to learn what positive vulnerability is by sharing and opening up. Like, as Mike was saying, just getting the help you need, understanding what's wrong with me, and having that courage to share. Listen, I'm struggling inside with different things. Mental health issues, it could be things that are making me feel low. My self-esteem has been diminished. We need to just say it, speak up about it, and tell one another, hey, this is what's going on. Vulnerability.
Yeah. So Mike, do you find would you let it all out in a group setting or one-on-one? What's more comfortable for you?
Anywhere and anytime, really.
At the point you're at now.
Yeah, I've had so many wonderful opportunities, but I like both. I like being in groups because I love hearing other people be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that's something that is really powerful when you can hear another person express themselves. And that's why I think historically men have not been good at teaching each other how to do that. And it's not a bad thing necessarily, it's just the way it is or the way it was.
But by demonstrating so others can see, it pushes you to say, hey, if he can do it, I can do it too.
Absolutely.
Is it harder for you in a group setting or it's on a one-on-one?
Group setting gives me more courage, but I feel like it open up more. One-on-one sometimes is even harder because that person might not see vulnerability the way I see it. So they might say, stop crying. Oh, you're making me feel uncomfortable. But if you're group setting, sometimes like, oh man, I feel you.
You cry. You cried? You cried in public?
I cry a lot.
In public?
Yes, in public. I cry in front of everyone. They could feel uncomfortable, but I could still feel healed by crying, and I'm vulnerable.
Right.
And it's strength for me by crying in public.
Has anyone ever told you, because of the way you open up, this has led them to be what they are today?
Absolutely. I had that yesterday, actually, too. Just at men's group, I have men's discussion groups. When you're talking and you're opening up and you're sharing your story about vulnerability, it can encourage someone else to open up. And they said, you know what, you're helping me. And I've heard that before. And that's what it means to have heart of a man. Okay.
So in a men's group, what are some of the other stuff you talk about? Like, I'm used to being in a women's group and we talk about this stuff. What do you guys deal with?
So we talk about things we deal with, such as depression, low self-esteem, anxiety, because those are the things we keep hidden in our hearts as men, because we don't want to share that. We don't want to be vulnerable, right? That's why we're redefining and revolutionizing manhood to talk about those topics openly. So those are the topics we do tackle. And also PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, that a lot of men face. And sometimes they don't even know they're facing that. But I'm getting more educated on that so I can share with men and we can share with one another so we could connect.
So when they're at the meeting and they open up, do they be home and be honest that, hey, it's still hidden then, so they're not completely vulnerable because they're not at the point where they're going to tell it because they're afraid of being mocked? Would you say that's what
I would say, depending on how you let them feel. You have to give them... you have to let them know they can be open or they can be closed. You cannot force them to speak up because that will make them feel uncomfortable and want to even close in even more. So that's something you have to be able to, feel that from them.
How often do you meet?
So what I've started to do is do it once a month, but now I'm going to do it bi-weekly. Every other week, every Thursday, every other Thursday I'll be having it.
And what's the turnout like?
It depends. It depends. Like yesterday, I've only had a few guys, but there's a time I've had 15 guys.
Do you have coffee and conversation like I do?
Absolutely.
All right.
We gotta have coffee and conversation. Men, we get hungry sometimes. Sometimes we want a coffee, we want to drink some water, especially we speak a lot about it too.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the setting like? You meet bi-weekly. Mike could bring his topic, or you just have one standard topic? Do you have speakers?
It's open discussion. So we can speak about different things. We can choose a topic. I want to talk about this. Let's have a vote. What are we going to talk about? we're going to talk about relationship problems we might be having when it comes to depression and low self-esteem. We could talk about that.
Have you been, Mike? And how
I
does
have not, because it's just started off recently.
Yes.
Restarted, I should
Restarted.
say.
Are you hoping to join?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I think it's hard because, I mean, I have 2 little kids, so scheduling is, Donovan and I usually hang out during the daytime. So I don't get to go to the groups, but we've had some pretty awesome conversations.
Men and Emotions, we're taking a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. On continuing with Men and Emotions, you men are fathers. How do you handle being a father and having young children? Have you ever been in a situation where the tears would roll?
Yeah, I was going to
Do
answer.
you wipe it back?
Yeah, I was going to answer not very well sometimes. I think what I've been taught through my own experience is honesty is always the best policy. So when I'm angry, I express anger. When I'm sad, I express sadness. When I'm happy, I express joy. And when I do it in a way that I don't think is nice, then I apologize. And then I accept responsibility for behaving in a way that's not okay. And I think adults often don't accept responsibility for the way they treat their kids or young people in general. And that's another way of modeling honesty and reflecting our emotions. And I think it's absolutely important to cry in front of kids, because if we want kids to behave differently, then we need to show them how to behave differently.
Do you get empathy, sympathy from your son or daughter when you're crying?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, I don't know if there's ever been one in particular situation, but when I tell them I'm angry, or I'm sad, or I'm tired, depending on how urgent their need is for the cookie or for me to play a game or whatever, when they can put their own needs aside, which is rare, there's a bit of empathy there for sure. But that's contingent on me being empathetic to them when they're in distress.
Okay.
So it's all about the modeled behavior that we were discussing.
Yep.
How do you handle it in a situation becoming vulnerable in front of your children?
Wow. Well, that's been a big switch for me, because in the beginning, I was taught to be, strong and not cry. So what I did is I took that over to my son. Stop crying. I used to grab him and say, you need to stop crying. You got to be a man. But when I had that paradigm shift in my life, how the tears have healed me, my son is a young man right now, has a lot of pain growing up. He's seen a lot of things. So I tell him to cry. Even if other people tell him not to cry, his friends, he knows that crying could help him. But I've seen my son shaking like, I want to cry, Dad, but I don't know if I can. Yes, you can. So I tell him he has to cry. I tell his friends cry, because it can heal you. And just communicate how you're feeling. Dad, I'm feeling sad.
Okay. I have 5 gorgeous brothers. And when my mom died a few years back, I remember I called my sister, because we've never seen them cry since childhood. So I'm like, have you seen them express anything? She said, no. I went to the house to see one, and he stayed a distance, so I know something was going on, probably didn't want. And then at the funeral, they were all in glasses, so we couldn't see them, and they stayed far. But we know they're grieving, we know they're crying, but they do not want their tears to show. So I can understand, probably they're at the stage where they need to let it out, let it be seen.
You just said it. Men need to show their tears.
Yeah.
Whoever's seeing this right now, Mike and I will say, show your tears.
Yeah.
We're strong men, even if you show our tears.
You know,
Take the glasses off, cry.
I got to add something to that.
Please.
Sorry. Brene Brown, who's largely respected as an expert in vulnerability and shame and etc., had this incredible talk, I guess, but she mentioned the fact that a big reason why men aren't vulnerable is because the women in their lives don't accept the vulnerability very well. So it's not everybody is in this together, and historically men have been soldiers, right? It's like you need to go out and die for the survival of us. And so vulnerability really probably was a sign of potential bad outcome for the group or whatever. But now the world's a much different place.
The world's a much different place.
Yeah.
Probably women looked at it differently. Say, you're a man, you're crying, but it is okay to cry,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
What are the tears is a language, so you express
Yes.
yourself.
Yeah.
So no one really getting it. Yeah.
And it is really healing. Donovan says it so nicely. I mean, it's like freedom almost.
You
Yeah.
feel lighter,
Yeah.
you feel, yeah. Well, what do you impart to your sons, like in public? Don't hold back, let it out.
You want to go first? You go.
You go first.
Oh.
You got this.
It really depends on how I'm feeling in the moment. If I'm tired, impatient, angry, then I don't have much time and patience for him. And that's on me. When I am, I do my best to let him behave the way he chooses to behave. And I don't try to tell him what's right or wrong. You know, if he is crying, then I try to help him cry. If I do think he's crying over something silly, I tell him I think it's silly. And I don't think that that's bad or wrong. Or maybe I would encourage him to express himself and after maybe say, you know, you got really upset over something that
Yeah.
maybe isn't such a big deal.
But I guess as you get older, you get tougher.
Yeah.
Because it's said that tears are a sign of weakness, but not necessarily, right?
No.
How many times have you cried since this year?
I cry a lot.
A lot.
I
Do you
cry a lot.
enjoy crying?
I enjoy crying.
Wow.
If I feel a lot of burden on my heart and I cry, it almost releases the burden.
Burden.
I feel
right.
lighter.
Feel lighter.
And I
Yeah.
tell my son that too, because my son does not want to cry. I don't know what's going on. I mean, my son is being raised, you know,
To be tough.
to be tough.
Yeah. What does it mean for a man to be tough though?
Be tough. Keep things inside. Yeah, I'm hurting today. I feel down, but I'm gonna smile. And I'm gonna go out there to that business meeting, even if I'm broken. And I'm gonna be tough.
I'm very tough.
And then when I come home, I'm gonna be down and out,
Wow.
which raises the suicide
Wow.
in the community, in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
We're holding it in.
So that's why a men's group such as yours is very important to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you need to get the word out more.
Absolutely.
More men need to get out.
Yeah.
But probably, I don't know, do you look at going to a men's group as an interesting move?
Yeah, I mean, I think your willingness to be honest and open is contingent on your trust in the group. So some groups may be better than others at encouraging people. But once you get into the habit of being honest and open and vulnerable, it is a superpower in a sense. Because if I go into a room where people are trying to give me a hard time or make fun of me or whatever, you know, the case may be, the acknowledgement of, oh, I don't like this and maybe I am feeling uncomfortable, that actually is incredibly powerful because then it doesn't get to you as much. It's like you can say whatever the heck you want to say. I know it doesn't feel good, but that doesn't matter because
Because people are bold enough to probably start laughing, not knowing what you're going through. Your day may be different from mine, and I'm on my downtime. But then tomorrow maybe his time, your up time, then you can strengthen each other as brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a group setting, there's kind of a code of respect in a
Absolutely.
sense. Yeah, and if you
Yeah.
break the code, then you're not welcome in the group.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's it. There's rules. There's a community rules
Yeah.
for Heart of a Man.
So everyone coming in has to agree to
Yeah.
those rules.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to read those rules first so that they can agree. And if they don't agree, it's okay. You can leave.
You find the groups growing?
I find it's been growing for a while. I've had some problems making it happen every other week, but now it's growing, and that's what I wanted to happen, being consistent. So it just grows and grows and grows, and men get the support they need. Because I'm not a psychologist, but I'm learning, and I can help others with this situations I've been through in my life.
Thank you so much for sharing, Mike. Thank you so much for sharing, Donovan. I hope the men's group grow and grow and grow because men does need a support system. It's time for us to go. I've enjoyed this segment. Hope you did too. Thanks for watching. See you next time.